Look at your history of last 5 to 700 years.
Yeah.
Your complete Bharat Varsh, Aryavrat, has shrunk down to
Into
become
one.
India.
एक है तो safe है. So what do you say about that?
Your country has been cut into
To
pieces.
pieces.
Bangladesh, Afghanistan, Pakistan, they are the live examples. And the history has been changed to such a level that we don't even remember the original names of these places.
Right. बटेंगे तो कटेंगे idea is coming from, and PM has put it more cutely as
कि जब जब हिंदू घटा है तब तब देश बटा है. आज आपके भामियास बुद्धास कहाँ गए? आपने अपनी सिविलाइजेशनल आइडेंटिटी खो दी क्योंकि आप बटे.
But would you agree that caste is a very obvious fault line in Hinduism which many have succeeded in exploiting?
वेदों में हिंदू शब्द ही नहीं है. It's Sanatan. PM Modi and Yogi ji, those who have the guts and the gumption to call it out and say
Yeah.
that कि भाई बहुत हो गया. For centuries, your Nalanda University, your scholars were killed, they were butchered, it burned for months. I say something, oh जया भारती ने बोला है let's go, she वो बोल रही है तो सही कह रही थी. अरे pick up the book, read
Read it,
about it.
exactly.
कि राजनीति वो धर्म से अलग कर ही नहीं सकते. अगर आपने राजनीति से धर्म हटा दिया तो अधर्म की राजनीति हो जाएगी.
Hello everyone, welcome to yet another episode of Bluntly Yours, and today I have with me one of my closest, Jaya Bharti. Once a sadhvi, she's now back to regular life as we call it. And while I've always been fascinated by her knowledge and wisdom on Hinduism, Sanatan and spirituality, today I'm more interested in exploring her life as a sadhvi, what got her into it and subsequently out of it. Welcome to the podcast, Jaya.
Hi, thank you for having me.
So, शुरू से शुरू करते हैं. How old were you when you decided to go to an ashram?
So, finally going into the ashram was relatively 3 years after I've been in touch with the ashram. So, I've been working with their social work and spiritual. I've been spiritually and religiously inclined since very young age. So I wanted to explore more about consciousness, more about the reality of life, and ashram life did attract me. So yes, I was around 20, 21 years of age when I started
Wow.
pursuing my guru to take me in as a full-time preacher, that we used to call it. He insisted, "Ah, don't come, you're good looking, you're fine, why don't you just get married?"
Right
and all
about that.
all that stuff. But I think I insisted. And then he said like, okay, if you insist so and you're like so hell-bent to, to explore it, then come join. So I was around 21 years of age when I formally
Like
joined.
when I was 21, I was busy making bad decisions.
Wow, and how do you feel about it now?
I don't regret anything, but yeah, stark contrast. But then what prompted you, like at an age when people are, dying to explore life, the different facets of it, everything that comes with it, you decided to leave it all and live a life of monkhood?
I feel, this is a very general perspective of people that, exploring life has only one dimension. I think when I went into deeper spirituality, leaving the ordinary or the more general approach of life and going into spirituality, it is because, even that is a way of exploring life.
Yeah.
Exploring life is not only one way.
Yeah.
So I really wanted to explore that side, and I think I connected more with it rather than aligning with other aspects of life.
But did you ever feel that you missed out on something? Never.
No. I think whatever is coming my way, has always, there's always it's very much more to it. You really because I feel not every human being can live or experience everything that
Everything at
life
one
has
go.
to life brings,
Hmm.
different people experience different things, be it emotionally, be it professionally, be it spiritually,
Hmm.
be it going and so even people who like to travel around the world, they don't
Yeah.
travel the whole world.
Whole world.
There's something that gets remained. So I feel that everything that I have experienced has
Hmm.
enriched me
Hmm.
and fulfilled me in some way. And I really don't regret any of the decisions. I don't regret and look back and regret, oh, I could have,
Hmm.
I wouldn't want to change anything about
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
But yes, yeah. So everything that has come across has
Hmm.
enriched me. That's the way I feel about it.
But how is life in the ashram? Because we
Ah.
see sadhus and sadhvis from the outside mostly when
Hmm.
we go to religious places and stuff. But how is life actually? Is it like a hostel? Is it like a gurukul, or what is it like?
So first of all, we are not bore people. So a lot of
Hmm.
people think they're bored and you
No,
could
no,
just
you are not boring for sure. I know that.
so
Don't be fooled by her
yeah,
appearance.
yeah. So a lot of people think that we have a monotonous life in the ashram,
Huh.
or we just do one similar things, or we just don't do anything much. When I would talk about how I lived. Yes,
Hmm.
so it does call for a disciplined approach. Your time of waking up, or you're doing a lot. Different. Lot of you do things that a lot of other people miss out. So
Hmm.
I want to miss on waking up early. I want to miss on my dhyan meditation. I still don't miss it. Like I'm
Yeah.
up
Yeah.
by 4 o'clock and I do my regular
Hmm.
dhyan. And it's about, like, you have certain priorities and you have certain conviction about certain things that you don't miss.
Hmm.
But yeah, we and then you know that there are certain duties when you're in the ashram. You have certain duties and certain sevas,
Yeah.
some work that has been assigned to you, and you should be doing it. So
Hmm.
the first thing is about your routine. First thing is about what your personal spiritual evolution, and obviously the seva, the work that you have been assigned. So you've got to you've got to fulfill that.
Hmm.
And beyond that, we have a lot of people, we make friends, then we are like-minded people. And the most interesting part that I lived in ashram was I worked with prisoners.
Oh, yes. Yes.
Yeah, so like it's not that I'm like a bored person sitting under a tree and I'm not talking to anyone and said, okay, go away. So
Hmm.
like that. So
Yeah.
we are going inside the jail and we are dealing with a very different
Hmm.
segment of the
Hmm.
society. So that's one part that people feel that they are the condemned lot of the society, while they are not.
Right.
So they've been through different experiences, bad experiences, or probably not that privileged background where they could be at a better position in
Hmm.
life, or some momentary rage. So I could understand where different experiences of life come from. People have different backgrounds, they have different situations, and how situations can land you differently.
Hmm.
And then you have regrets, then you have pain, then you have suffering. And there I use spirituality to elevate their sufferings, to make them feel better, make them more hopeful, change the way they think, change
Hmm.
the way they feel, and have a different perspective towards life, and look at life and don't feel that it's over.
Right.
So I feel that we could even in the ashram I worked largely for the lot of social causes. I worked in the education sector,
Hmm.
I worked for health, I worked for gender justice. I've been one of the sadhus who's been representing India on the UN panels on
Hmm.
gender justice, on education, on even environment,
Hmm.
disaster relief, prisons. So I think it's been very enriching. But there the tool was more of a spiritual. But yes, so we had a lot of very vast experience,
Hmm.
very vast opportunities. And then I had like my own exposure to the media.
Yeah.
I used to speak about it. People used to and still ask about my opinion
Hmm.
about the Hinduism, the Hindu political way, or the right wing politics, or all that stuff.
Yes.
So it's been very complex yet
Yeah.
simple in approach, but it's been very enriching.
You said something about a lot. You work with a lot of people, and of course, there must be power structures and hierarchies within the ashrams also. So, like we have in our office spaces, so there's
Yes.
always this friction and workplace politics and gossip. Eventually, ashram में भी वही लोग जाते हैं बाहर से ही तो लोग ही तो है ना. So, do the same things happen, or are they slightly more evolved because they are more spiritually inclined?
These things do happen, and we've seen in certain ashrams that these things were so allowed that it was out in public. It
Yeah.
was like, washing your laundry
Dirty laundry in the public.
So yes, it happens because people, when they are coming, we can't expect them to change overnight.
Right.
Change, evolution, transformation, and raising your own your own value system takes time. And the ashram setting does give you that scope. So, and if people who take the opportunity and are committed to their own growth, they do change, and they just rise above all these lower
stuff.
These are lower
Low energy stuff.
Yeah. And the people who don't, they just get stuck. So it's everywhere.
So one simple question.
Yeah.
Does being spiritual make you a better human being? A
Yes.
better person?
First of all, spirituality is more about yourself.
Right.
It is not about what I portray to somebody else. It's not that. So what is spirituality? So I'll give you a little example. Like,
Yeah.
right now we are talking, I'm more focused on the questions Shuchi is going to ask me, how am I going to answer them, and all this stuff. So most of the time, if you see, the moment you open your eyes in the day, you start thinking about everything that is in the external environment.
Right.
There is external stimuli all around.
Always. Yes.
And whether somebody is saying this to you, you're probably reaching an office, you don't like a colleague, they trigger your different emotions, then you come out and your maid hasn't worked properly, then somebody during the transit in the traffic. So you're aware whether you want to go and do some shopping, you're going to buy something, or to read something, everything that you're engaged is in the external environment.
Right.
And the external environment, the three-dimensional environment that we call, it's all about the physical attributes.
Right.
But as an individual, you're not your surroundings and you're not your body. There is a higher intelligence in you. There's a higher awareness and consciousness in you. There's a higher emotional quotient in you. But you do not get time to be aware of it. You carry it inside you for days together, but you're seldom focused and aware about it. Spirituality is withdrawing your awareness from the 3D, from the external stimulus, and focusing on your pure intelligence and pure consciousness that is without the external stimuli. And that's where you understand yourself better, where you know the meaning and the core of your existence better. And once you know yourself better, your life is better. And so it does result into a better human being, because it is about more aware. You are not going in a default mode. Your surroundings are no more defining you. You're more aware and you're more conscious. You're more mindful. And once you're mindful about what you're doing, how you're going to react, how you're going to respond, or you are going to react or not react at all. So awareness is about it. Why do we react? Because we are on a default mode. So we do respond in our lives better when we are on an awareness mode.
Right.
And spirituality is withdrawing your consciousness, being focused, and then being aware, what am I? It's not about what am I to you. It's about what am I to myself. And yes, it makes more meaning. It's more peaceful. It's more fulfilling. It's more whole. You don't feel the lack of anything at that point.
So it's not been too long since you came out of the ashram life, as in some 3-4 years, I suppose.
Almost 3 years.
So that would make it around 18 to 20 years that you were in that life.
Yeah,
right?
Almost 18 years.
So what prompted the switch? Because one would think that it's a comfortable, sheltered, structured life. It's also purposeful, of course, because you were doing so much stuff. So a lot of social impact projects. What prompted you to come back to this hellhole?
Since you said the social impact project, I think I'm doing bigger, larger projects now.
Yeah.
I have a foundation now, that's the Human Life Foundation, and I have a firm that actually works primarily for promoting the entrepreneurship and marketability of the products that right now we are doing under the Government of India's ODOP project.
Right.
So there was a calling in me for people who are economically disadvantaged. I feel, even in dharma we call that, earth.
हाँ,
So
हाँ.
even you can't pursue dharma until and unless your earth is not sorted, because the
Right.
moment you sit down for dharma, you're gonna have thought, oh my god, that bill is pending, अरे भाई वो bill भेजना है, and that उसको पैसा देना है, घर
हाँ,
में एक खर्चा है,
हाँ,
you got to pay the
हाँ.
rent. So earth, even if you like say earth has to be sorted to pursue, and when you pursue, so that I feel that even if I can't, कहते हैं ना कि भूखे भजन ना हो गोपाला, तो भैया वो आप
हाँ.
जय जय करके नहीं होगा. इवन you need to sort your life's financial aspects if you want to pursue the spiritual aspects also. So even in the ashram, though I was sorted, but I could see a lot of people, they're still having a hard time, making the both ends meet. So I really wanted to work on this economic aspect, and when I came out, I worked largely, my foundation is focused on working with artisans, farmers, craftsmen, promoting, curating their products, designing their product for the global market, and making the outreach to the higher market. And there's a whole environment of that in India after the PM Modi, and this ODOP thing had really
Right.
made it really very extensive and impactful. And I really enjoy working with go to remote areas and then work there. So what prompted me when I come back to, so one thing, that social thing, it didn't really get
Move
disturbed.
much. Yeah.
But yeah, leaving the ashram, I'm having more freedom and more time to do that. Yet it's not impacting my spiritual growth either.
Yeah.
So I told I was more inclined towards spirituality. I wanted to experience that lifestyle. I went in. But yes, I remember, I never went inside with a very stringent mindset that कभी यही है जो कुछ है, अब और आगे कुछ नहीं है, बस सब छोड़. I really went with an explorative approach.
Yeah, yeah.
And my guru also said that, even in point in time, if you feel that you want to like move on, you should definitely do that. So I was once point in time, I'm feeling like there's no more purpose it's serving. It's just the point has come.
Yeah, it served its purpose.
Yeah, so let's just go ahead, move ahead. So I just walked out.
So what I really meant was that in the ashram life, it's a kind of sheltered life, focusing on the good things, spirituality, and talking about all the nice things. Perceivably. But when you come out into the real world, there is a different kind of complexity. There is responsibilities. You have to hustle, make a living, earn, take care of a house, take care of family, and all of that. How is that hitting you?
Yeah, when you talk about, so first thing first, you talk about complexities. Yes, we have a very social notion that people believe that once you've gone into that order, and if you're coming out of that order, then something's wrong with you. So people, judge you. So you got to, somewhere they expect you to do a lot of explaining. So I refuse that. You could just think about me, but I'm really clear with my conscience.
Yeah.
That's one thing. Another, yes, I didn't earn a single penny for 18 long years in my life.
That's exactly what I meant.
Yeah, I did not even.
Where do you pay the bills?
So the only thing I had was an Aadhaar card. I didn't have a bank account.
Achha.
I didn't own a house. I didn't have a PAN card. So everything like
Oh,
nothing.
कागज ही नहीं थे.
So it was like pure Babaji with just an identity. So then coming out, then okay. So now you've got to spend out of your pocket.
Yeah, that's exactly what I meant. Like the real.
Yes.
When shit gets real.
Yeah. So see, because I'm a mentor, and people say I'm a good speaker.
You are.
Yeah. So for the training came in very handy. So the first thing that I started doing was, lot of training. And because being into deep spirituality for long years, a lot of people, I started helping people, with the emotional, mentoring people who have emotional challenges, people who have emotional illnesses. So, how connecting, so, doing the coachings and especially trainings and people coming to you for healing. So that came it really very, so, and one thing that I think I've built in the whole, before I actually left the ashram also. So I think the one thing that I had built really well was my social capital. So it wasn't really, I can't say a cakewalk, but it wasn't.
You had something to work with.
Yeah. So I had skills. So I've been working, so we had launched certain social
Hmm.
brands and products, so it was easy for me to
Hmm.
come out. So my foundation, I established a foundation. We
Hmm.
started working on some support from the friends
Yeah. Yeah.
flowed in,
Uh,
some really good people. And then establishing the foundation, started to work around it,
hmm.
doing this trainings and healing projects
Hmm.
and healing workshops. And then it really went, I still remember, it just within a matter of 3 to 4 months, like I have now like students from all across the world who
Hmm.
connect with me and talk to me about further healing
Hmm.
that came across. And then obviously these projects for the we went on to exporting these products very shortly. My foundation created the avenues where we could actually export. So
Hmm.
yes, so it was, I think, not a really very easy cakewalk, but the skills, the work experience that
Hmm.
I had gained, and the vision that I had, because I
Yeah.
wanted to work in this area
Hmm.
only.
Hmm.
And I think the opportunities that India currently has
Hmm.
made it really comfortable. It took a little bit, like 2 3 years,
Hmm.
2 years almost, but a smooth transition,
Hmm.
and a lot of support of people who are well wishers and my friends.
Hmm.
And I think the social capital did work.
Yeah.
It does.
So, I mean, you're just talking about the mentoring, coaching, and guiding.
Yeah.
So, internet right now is flooded with all kind of jokers who teach Hinduism, like
Mm.
different versions of it. Like,
Mm.
I'm a noob myself. I would seriously consider myself one of the most ignorant, because
Mm.
as an ex woke, I never got to
Oh,
read the.
that's that's a
I have no shame in admitting,
yeah.
seriously.
Isn't it
Uh,
quite interesting? An ex sadhvi with an ex woke.
See,
Yes.
but yet we have
Yeah.
so many things that connect us. Hanumanji is one of them,
Yes, yes.
right?
He's my
So,
Rever deity. He's my
yeah, mine
Guru
too.
deity.
We
Yes.
we will have a separate segment on him.
Yeah.
So, like completely different journeys. So, my learnings or whatever has been through curiosity and reading a lot and all of that.
Mhm.
That's what has gotten me onto this path. I would still say I'm curious, not knowledgeable. So although I don't know much, but I still see a lot of misinformation and misguidance masquerading as uh, Sanatan and Hindu philosophy on the internet. And you have also been creating a lot of content around the same recently. So how do you see that?
I would like to divide this into two ways. One, what exactly, how elaborate Sanatan is,
Hmm.
and then what about mentoring, and like
Hmm.
there are lot of information afloat over there. So if you look at Sanatan doesn't have one book. Sanatan
Hmm.
doesn't have
Hmm.
a closed jacket approach
Right.
that
Right.
you have just one person, one book, do this, and if you
Hmm.
go out of this, and so you're not a follower, you
Thank
are
God
some.
for that.
So Sanatan, like I'll tell you, Sanatan has a very beautiful approach because it believes that every individual is different.
Hmm.
Every individual is at a different vibration and energy level,
Hmm.
and we connect with a different form of energies.
Hmm.
So you look at, so we believe in the Hiranya Garbh, that the Big Bang theory.
Hmm.
So, and
Hmm.
before the Big Bang theory, there's only the in supreme consciousness, that is we call as the Adi Brahma.
Hmm.
And then when this so Big Bang happened, the Hiranyagarbha happened. So after this cosmos was created, and this three dimensions were created, and then we have the Brahma also got into three forms of energy: that
Hmm.
Brahma, Vishnu,
Hmm.
Mahesh, and then
Hmm.
there further diversion of how they connect. So
Hmm.
this is one form that people worship. Another is the avatars. So
Hmm. Hmm.
Vishnu, Bhagwan Vishnu has 10 avatars, so people connect with his avatars,
Yeah.
right? Then we have the Guru Shishya Parampara.
Hmm.
So people who want to understand the philosophy, the ideology of the Advait, whether it is only one or Dvaitvad, it could be
Hmm.
energy could be just one, or it could be in different
Hmm.
forms.
Hmm.
And then it's only the yogic thing, you and your consciousness. There are no temples, there is no offering, there is no puja.
Hmm.
It's only no mantras, nothing. It's you and your Chetana.
Hmm. Hmm.
So there's, and every dimension that I've just spoken, it is diverse. You add yagya and havan into
Hmm.
Vedic
Hmm.
studies also. And different, you would find people who connect with either of these dimensions,
Yeah.
right? And Sanatan gives you the opportunity, scope to figure out what you align with.
Hmm.
and then you go with that. So nobody can tell you that if you're not doing this, it is wrong. If you're
Yeah.
doing this,
Hmm.
and I talk a lot about intent.
Hmm.
You know, a lot of people say that, you know, when I was reading the scripture, I this clicked me. When I was reading that scripture, that clicked me. So I figured out that something that's very important in a human life, whether you're approaching spirituality, whether you are approaching a relationship, whether you're approaching your profession, or whether you're approaching anything in life, if you have a clear intent. So clear intent is a signature, energy signature that you send out into anything that you do. So when you send out that signal, that energy responds to you, and it is equivalent to your intent. So people who are, you know, when you do certain things, it is your, you have to be clear with your intent. Some people worship the deity, they want some benefits in this life. Some just want to understand, some want to just be like devout followers, they just want to.
How do we, so that's something very interesting about deities. I think we talked about it earlier also. So like you just said, ex woke and ex sadhvi, but how do we align with the same deity?
Yes, so because I'll tell you, every deity has a different energy. So if you talk about Bhagwan Krishna, it's more into love, it's more into, you know, very subtle, very peaceful things. The moment you talk about Durga, it's the energy, it's the Kali, and it's the power. And if you talk about Hanumanji, it's more grounded. It's the bal, it's the bhakti, it's the focus, it's the concentration. It's just going ahead and doing it and not failing.
Yeah.
I feel we could be different, but somewhere we could be aligned with the same energies. It's the devoutness. So anybody who's devout, even if so I'm a Durga, I'm a Kali Bhakt.
Yeah.
So even if I want to approach the bhakti of Kali, I'll go through the way of Hanumanji, because he's a biggest catalyst of bhakti.
Right.
So if
Yeah,
I
he
want to,
embodies bhakti
yeah,
in himself.
so if I take him along, he'll make my way easier to approach the Devi. So that's how it happens. We need to figure out like what I align with. A lot of people, because if I go out in life, I do feel that, you know, Hanumanji is like, he does all the planning, he does everything, and he takes care of everything. My life is sorted because I've given him some sort of a charge. And and some people, you know, feel the same way when they talk about Bhagwan Krishna, or when they talk about you know, Lord Shiv, Bhagwan Shiv. So we do that. So this is the beauty, what I feel, Sanatan Dharma or the Sanatan culture, because they understand the individuality of every individual and the diversity in human beings, and everybody has a different level of, you know, devoutness as well as spirituality, and it depends from where you start.
Right.
And it gives you that liberty, and it gives you not only the liberty, it has made ways for you to approach and explore.
True.
And you know, and so when somebody comes onto the social media and says, oh, you're doing this is wrong, you should not do this, and you're doing this, do this wrong, no, then you will, you know, attract the ire of the deity. A deity can never get angry with you, because if you have the intent. एक बड़ा अच्छा सा ना हिंदी में एक दोहा आता है कि तुलसी अपने राम को रीझ भजो या खींच, धरती पड़े से उपजेंगे उल्टे सीधे बीज, कि आप बीज को धरती पे उल्टा डालो या सीधा डालो, वो उगेगा जरूर. So even if you have the right intent towards devoutness, आप कुछ गलती भी कर रहे हो ना, वो एक माँ की तरह होता है कि अच्छा तेरा एफर्ट है ना, I'll still gonna reward you for this. Don't worry, just keep going. So what I feel about the social media is, you know, there should not be any scaring. When, you know, when the scaring comes into the religion, that if you do this is going to go wrong. Oh, this is bad, this is wrong, this is not right, then this is going to go wrong. The moment you bring that fear, that scare inside into it, it's the moment the whole purpose of it gets defeated.
Because I mean, in my understanding, what separates Hinduism from other religions is that it is not a fear-based religion. It's a love-based, acceptance-based,
even if you are
surrender-based.
No, even if you are agnostic, you don't follow or believe, you have space for that also. In Sanatan, we have Charvak.
Yeah.
You know, it's okay even if you don't believe, because Sanatan Dharma says that somewhere something will occur where he or she will find that human being is going to find their connect. It's okay if they are not finding the connect now, but because they find life this life and life after life is there, and in continuity it's a process, and everybody finds their connect, everybody finds their initiation and culmination. So everybody is in the process, and there's no point of bringing that fear or right or wrong into it. If we are doing with the right intent, your own deity, your own awareness, your own higher consciousness, or the Bhagwan himself is going to guide you to the right path. Make an honest effort.
Effort, right.
So talking about, we've talked about religion and faith. You got initiated at a very, some later stages in life. So where did this, what struck you? How did you get into it? That part of it.
So yeah, it was pretty late in life, late as late 20s and early 30s. And it was a particularly low time in my life. And coming from a sort of liberal family, we never had that as part of our system, the rituals or the teachings or what your grandparents pass on to you, what your parents pass on to you. So my grandparents were atheists. My father was a Hanuman Bhakt, but we never really had any rituals or understanding, so to speak. So at the lowest point of your life, you kind of feel unanchored, like there's nothing to hold on to. That's when the whole exploration began. That's when the whole learning and curiosity began. And gradually, I kind of found my footing within the teachings. And, so that's how it has grown. And also, there was a point in my life when I used to think that why is religion made such a bigger deal, especially in the political context, right? But the more you read about it, the more you read the history and the civilizational foundation of a country, you realize you can never separate the two.
I totally agree with it. And how I would want to answer is that, it's completely wrong. And it has been deceptive and misguiding to tell people that politics and religion have been different.
It's part of the whole identity.
It's people whom you're trying to rule. How do you divide the civilizations? You divide a civilization in terms of their geographic reach and geographic and their culture, and the most prominent among those identity that defines an identity of a civilizational group or a civilization is the faith they follow. Right? And it's not only about Bharat, it's not only about Sanatan Dharma, it's across culture. So when invaders came in, we call them Islamic invaders. We call missionaries the Christian missionaries.
Right.
They came with the agenda to spread their religion, to loot or whatever we say. So you cannot say that you could separate two. And what is it? The approach that you look at is expansionist approach. They were expanding their rule by the way of converting people, by teaching or something, or by taking over by force. And पॉलिटिक्स और व्हेन वी से कि राजनीति को धर्म से अलग कर ही नहीं सकते. अगर आपने राजनीति से धर्म हटा दिया तो अधर्म की राजनीति हो जाएगी. राजा के दिमाग में धर्म होना चाहिए और राजा शुड हैव अ धार्मिक अप्रोच. दैट इज द वे. इफ यू लुक एट हमारे जो पौराणिक कथाएं हैं, इफ यू लुक एट दोज, always the king had a Rajguru sitting beside him. Wherever the king felt confused that whatever decision he is taking, is it Dharma Sangat? Is it a righteous decision? He used to check with the Rajguru or that is this decision a right decision? So you cannot make the Rajniti, avoid Dharma at all. Dharma is the awareness of being righteousness. And when you talk about faith, it's about your identity. You cannot rule a civilization or govern a civilization by making them saying that don't you bring in your identity. Just we are bringing in the welfare projects, eat, drink and have merry. Forget about what your identity is. And you look around the globe. We have Christian nations, we have Islamic nations, Islamic republics. What is it? It is because the people of the same faith, the same identity from a similar culture, they live together.
Right.
And they bring in a person to rule them, they elect a person to rule them who knows what their identity is, what their lifestyle is, what their culture is. And he can respect that and protect it. It's not, human life is not about just having a good house, having a good education, and just eating and then dying. It's about living by your identity, living by your value system, And faith is the most prominent identity that any civilization carries. And people who've been, so Sanatan Dharma has never been an expansionist,
Right.
civilization. So that is why, we've never invaded any country, we've never waged a war to convert people into Sanatan. But if you see the people who've been coming here to rule, why did they demolish temples? Why did they build mosques over them? Why are they converting people in the name of okay, we give you this holy water,
Yeah.
and I'm sorry, I'm just bringing in
Just
this. I don't know
go
what whether
Go
you
on,
like.
it's called Bluntly Honest for a
Yeah, so
reason.
when I see the conversions here in
Yeah.
Punjab today, so they're saying abhi wo, that father, that priest will go and then touch, and somebody's on the wheelchair will stand while the Pope in the Vatican drives in the wheelchair.
हाँ
Is my
उसको कोई नहीं कोई टच कर रहा.
मतलब वो जो पंजाब का पादरी है वो
हाँ.
ज्यादा पावरफुल है पोप से.
हाँ.
So what is this approach? This is all expansionist, and we all know that politics today is demography based. People are voting in the name of whether the person who wants to be elected, the person who's standing in the election, is among from them or not. And how do you define whether he's among from you? Either it's your region, your own community, or your faith.
Right.
So it's very stupid to tell people that they both are different. They've never been different.
Never will be also.
Yeah, and a lot of people have been invading other countries, with wars or silently, in a coverted ways, only to change people's faith and have their political supremacy over them.
I also think this is it's the faith that binds a nation and a people, right?
Yes. A community. So first the family, then the community, and then the society, and then the nation.
Right.
So that those are the strings that bind you together.
And is it time to be more assertive and proud about the faith, since there are so many divisive forces in
why
play?
not? I would say why not? If I can be proud about the way I look, if I can be proud about what great things I've done,
Yeah.
I have to be proud about. So anything that I'm taking inspiration from, anything that's happening around in my life, I do owe it to my forefathers. I do owe it to my ancestors and generational people who've lived beyond and created these situations and opportunities for us. And people say faith is very personal.
Yeah.
Faith is personal when it's only about your personal evolution and experiences and in spiritual or religious realm. But faith is an identity. Why do countries in India, they're talking about census. Why do you want to do a census? If you feel that it has nothing to do with your faith, is not an identity, then why, and and then you say, okay, caste arises from Hinduism, and then we do a caste census. So if it has to be apolitical, if faith is apolitical, then why do the census?
Yeah.
So you're doing something else, you're preaching something, and then let's be honest, let's be blunt, as you say about it. So we are blunt and and so it's all we're misleading people, and that's not how. And if you look at the civilizational history of the world, they've never been separate, and it's always every community has. And I think I'm very proud of Sanatan Dharma that it has been assertive without actually breaching somebody else's faith. We have never been, we've never done something to convert others, but we've been very proud of our faith. And I think it's time that we let people know that if we've not breached your faith, you're not allowed to breach my faith either.
I think that's where the whole batenge to katenge idea is coming from, and PM has put it more cutely as ek hai to safe hai. So what do you say about that?
I wanted to talk about it, and I think here I can talk as blunt as I can.
Please do. No censors.
Yeah, so I'll tell you one thing. This batenge to katenge and ek hai to safe hai, it's not coming out of some thin air.
Yeah.
It is not somebody's, fancy idea just to misguide. Look at your history of last 500 to 700 years.
Yeah.
Your complete Bharat Varsh, Aryavrat, has shrunk down to become India. आप जब ये जो अरविंदो घोष जो है उन्होंने एक जगह लिखा है, he said कि जब जब हिंदू घटा है तब तब देश बटा है. और ये आपका इतिहास बता रहा है. Your history is telling you that whenever you have not united, I ask a question, and I ask it to all, even Hindus also. So when they say that Muslims were demanding a separate country, why weren't the Hindu united and said, no, we will not allow it, we don't want a separate country?
Yeah.
So because you were not united and you were not assertive, somebody is demanding one thing, you have you also have a right that I'll keep my country united. आपका आप बटे तो आपका कनिष्क जो साम्राज्य था वो कट गया और वो अफगानिस्तान बन गया. आपका जो सिंध था, आपका जो सिंधु घाटी सभ्यता थी, वो कट करके पाकिस्तान बन गई.
लॉस्ट फॉरएवर.
लॉस्ट फॉरएवर. आपने उसी एरिया में अपनी नॉलेज सेंटर्स तक्षशिला खो दिया. आज आपके भामियास बुद्धास कहाँ गए? आपने अपनी सिविलाइजेशनल आइडेंटिटी खो दी क्योंकि आप बटे. आप भी कटना सिर्फ गर्दन का कटना नहीं होता. योर कंट्री हैज बीन कट इनटू पीसेस. बांग्लादेश, अफगानिस्तान, पाकिस्तान, दे आर द लाइव एग्जांपल्स. हमारा बंगाल कट करके क्या? एंड द हिस्ट्री हैज बीन चेंज्ड टू सच अ लेवल दैट वी डोंट इवन रिमेंबर द ओरिजिनल नेम्स ऑफ दीज प्लेसेस.
राइट.
द पीपल हु वर ओरिजिनल इनहैबिटेंट्स ऑफ दैट एरिया, दे आर नोवेयर टू बी सीन देयर.
And it's erased from the history books also.
Yes, and so and I'm thankful that we have political leaders like PM Modi and Yogi ji, those who have the guts and the gumption to call it out and say that कि भाई बहुत हो गया for centuries. क्योंकि आप बढ़ते रहे हो तो सिर्फ आप नहीं कटे हो, आपका देश कटा है, आपकी सभ्यता कटी है, आपकी पहचान कटी है. आप छोटे होते होते आज भारत के अंदर और लोग कह रहे हैं कि अब इस तेलंगाना को फलाने को अलग कर दो, वो अलग करते करते इतना कट गए हैं, देश कटता जा रहा है. एंड ये हवा में से नहीं आई है बात. ये आपका इतिहास बता रहा है कि जब भी आप बटे हो, आप कटे हो, और आप एक रहोगे तो सेफ रहोगे. ये इसी चीज से समझ जाओ व्हाट्स हैपनिंग इन बांग्लादेश. दे डू नॉट हैव एनी अदर ऑल्टरनेटिव. And had we have, it's earlier, it's better earlier than late. You just do it now. So, and I'm not apologetic about it. I am a person who practices peace and preaches peace. But I cannot, there is
not at the cost of
my life. You just can't do it. So, I'm spiritual. I'm not a coward. I'm dharmic. I'm not a coward. And I'm not scared. Let me just speak it that way. So it's your history is laden with it. You've lost so much. Your Nalanda University, your scholars were killed. They were butchered. It burned for months.
And it's happening to this day.
ये कटे नहीं थे आप और बटे नहीं थे, बटे थे. And how long? Because now it is, you've shrunk so much, and you've been chopped and cut into pieces so many times that now the whole existence is at question. So it's better you rise up and then stop, secularism. Well, even when people use secularism, I'm gonna, just make a mention. Secularism का जो dictionary meaning है ना, it's worldly matters. It's more material matters. Secularism has nothing to do denying rights of one community
to appease
the other. And neither it has any social sanction, neither political sanction. And people who try to justify it, and people who actually buy that justification are bigger culprits than the people who are trying to misguide you.
Right.
So, you've got to be rational and you've got to take history in account. But if you want to really be liberal at the cost of your life, so be it.
Yeah. But would you agree that caste is a very obvious fault line in Hinduism, which many have succeeded in exploiting?
No. First of all, caste was never a part. It's, if you look, so we say Hinduism. अगर आप वेदों को पढ़ेंगे, वेदों में हिंदू शब्द ही नहीं है. इट्स सनातन. सनातन मीन्स इटर्नल. सनातन का मतलब होता है समथिंग विच इज बियॉन्ड द इम्पैक्ट ऑफ टाइम एंड स्पेस. सो कॉन्शियसनेस, आप इवन व्हेन इफ द होल मटेरियल थिंग्स गोज डाउन द ब्लैक होल, व्हाट विल रिमेन इज कॉन्शियसनेस. सो द ब्रह्म चेतना, द आदि कॉन्शियसनेस इज सनातन. एंड द civilization that promotes that every individual experiences and evolves to that consciousness is Sanatan Sabhyata. The whole lifestyle of Sanatan revolves around it. You wake up at this time, you stay fit through yoga and you stay fit through this. Everything, if you say, is Sharir Madhyam Khalu Dharma Sadhanam, and the dharma and the duty is that you know that higher consciousness, that Brahma, that Ishvara, right? So, so when we are doing, going this, I think I missed the link what I was answering.
Caste.
So if you look,
so where did all of this come from? I know about the varnas and all.
Yeah.
But how did it become such a fault line in our society?
So it's not a fault line. See, I'll tell you, Samantwad, the federal system was bought in by the Britishers. Every country you see that the Britishers have left behind, they've left behind it in a system
Yeah.
that you don't rise up enough
Above.
to retaliate against us. Just तुम्हारी जिंदगी में इतने लफड़े डाल देंगे कि तुम उन लफड़ों में ही रहोगे, तुम भूल जाओगे कि ब्रिटिशर्स ने तुम्हें रूल किया था. सो जो सामंतवाद था, जो फेडरल सिस्टम था, they created the जातिवाद सिस्टम, not the ब्राह्मणवाद. And because सामंतों को आपने ब्राह्मणों को बिठा दिया था सामंत पे, and few people they did it, तो you can't say कि it has a sanction of सनातन धर्म. वर्ण होते हैं, वर्ण मीन्स क्लासिफिकेशन. आज आपका पूरा प्रोफेशनल इकोनॉमिक स्ट्रक्चर वर्ण पे चलता है, बट यू डोंट कॉल इट ऑफ. ये बैंकर है, ये आईटी का व्यक्ति है, ठीक है, ही इज एन आर्किटेक्ट, ही इज अ डिजाइनर. अब हम डिजाइनर को बोलेंगे जुलाहा है, भाई अब वो भी कपड़े का काम कर रहा है, डिजाइनर भी कपड़े का काम कर रहा है. सो इट वाज क्लासिफिकेशन ऑफ वर्क. ब्राह्मण जो स्टडी कर रहा है ना, इफ वी, अब हम बोल रहे हैं कि वो गुरु है, वो शिक्षक है, तो ब्राह्मणवाद है. हम बोल रहे हैं टीचर है, मेंटर है, तो सही है भैया. अंग्रेजी में तो सही है, हिंदी में तो हम गलत है. तो जस्ट बिकॉज यू डोंट अंडरस्टैंड योर लैंग्वेज. सो वर्ना वाज क्लासिफिकेशन ऑन द बेसिस ऑफ वर्क. आई हैव सेड इट. अब रावण जो था, रावण वाज born in a ब्राह्मण क्लैन. ठीक है. रावण के जो पिता थे, भगवान शिव ने लंका बनवाई थी माँ पार्वती के लिए. उनके जो पिता थे रावण के, उन्होंने उसका गृह प्रवेश की पूजा की थी, और उन्होंने दक्षिणा में भगवान शिव से लंका ही मांग ली. एंड जस्ट बिकॉज जो उनकी ग्रीड थी, उस ग्रीड के चलते पूरा क्लैन आगे का जो था, उन्हें ना तो क्षत्रिय कहा गया, ना वैश्य कहा गया, ना शूद्र, उन्हें राक्षस कहा गया. यू आर बॉर्न इन अ ब्राह्मण कुल, और उसके बाद आप आज तक हर साल जलाए जाते हो, तो आपका जो कर्म ही आपका वर्ण निर्धारित करता है. रावण से बड़ा एग्जाम्पल नहीं है, राइट? सो स्टॉप सेइंग दिस. सो वर्ण जो है, हम लोगों ने तो जिन लोग, द पीपल हु हैव नॉट एक्टेड अप्रोप्रिएटली टू व्हाट दे वर एक्सपेक्टेड, हमने उनको चारों वर्णों से भी निकाल दिया. यू आर अ राक्षस, राइट? But when you say जातिवाद, जाति शब्द, Britishers started the first caste-based consensus, and I really want to ask this to Congress as a citizen of India. If अगर आपको जातिवाद से इतनी समस्या थी, अब हर बार जातियां बढ़ा के उन्हें पिछड़े लाइन में ऐड क्यों करते गए? Why didn't you pass an ordinance और अ लॉ कि भाई भारत में कोई जाति सूचक रहेगा ही नहीं. we just refuse to identify. You are identifying, you are listing them as OBC, SC, ST, and keep adding it, and then you are saying, these Brahmins and these people have done it to you. You are passing a law and you're blaming it on Shuchi, and you're blaming it on Jaya, and you had all the time and all the freedom in the world to do it, right? So this is completely a conspiracy to divide the Hindu society. Today I'll call it off. Even in the Muslim community, if you go, a Sayyid or a Qazi will not get their daughter married to a Chipa.
हाँ, मतलब क्या फायदा हुआ, घूम फिर के you landed up in the same.
When you are a Sayyid, when you're a Qazi, when you're a Haji, so you are a high caste, you will not get it to married into a Chipa or somebody who's a Luhar or who's a Julaha or who's doing the Kagaz ka kaam. Because I remember I had a friend, and her father outrightly denied getting your daughter married into a Chipa community, the ones who do chapai on the kapda. And they say, nahi, hum to nahi karenge. But that they are minorities, they have all the right. This is Sharia, na? That's their personal law. But if you call it, oh my God, we'll make a hue and cry, you Brahmanwadis, and you Falana, and you Dhimkana. What is this? Just because you're confusing the society. Why would you do it, bhai? And the problem, my problem is not with the people who are propagating it. My problem is with the people, so we're talking about a social media thing. We're talking about people, influencers. I'm talking about the influenced. I say something, oh, Jaya Bharti ne bola hai, she wo bol rahi hai to sahi keh rahi hai. Arey, pick up the book, read about it, exactly. Find out your own roots, find out the truth. Okay, you hear something, some political leader starts and saying something, okay, no, this is fine, we are going to follow. So, there has been a systematic approach of, I remember I heard somebody saying, and I really resonate with this fact that India is the only country where the history has been written to make us feel bad about
Bad about
our
ourselves.
ourselves. You know,
I
our
seriously
culture.
think like we've grown up as a nation who has very low self-worth and very low
Yeah.
self-esteem.
Until and
And
unless you know Sadhvi Jayabharati is not talking in English, इसका knowledge कम
हाँ,
होगा पक्का.
it's like अंग्रेजी में बोल रहा है तो
अंग्रेजी में
ठीक ही
बोल
बोल
रही है
रहा
तो पढ़ी
होगा.
लिखी है भाई.
हाँ.
So you know, so I know 7-8 languages, but
Yeah.
your podcast in this, so I can talk here.
Hmm.
But the issue is that the people my problem is with the people who take everything that, you know, you are influenced by someone and you take everything on the face value.
Yeah.
You do not apply logic. You don't go and explore. You don't go and find out the truth for
Hmm,
yourself. So people will tell you, oh, your Hinduism has a caste system. Where can you bring a religious reference? Manusmriti में लिखा है. अरे भाई
Oh, Manusmriti is one of the favorite punching bags
No.
for everybody.
One thing, anybody who talks about Manusmriti,
Hmm.
bring in the draft and show me.
Hmm.
And I'll tell you, older the scripture
Hmm.
and the time you have had to manipulate the transcripts.
True.
So I'm not going to justify anything. Bring in. मैंने कहा वो लिखा है ढोल गंवार शूद्र पशुनारी. भाई तूने पढ़ा है किताब में जाके? या
किस
मैंने
कॉन्टेक्स्ट
बोला
में लिखा है?
किस context?
क्या आगे पीछे क्या था?
नहीं, तूने वो लिखा हुआ देखा है या जस्ट बिकॉज 4 लोगों ने वहां खड़े होके बोल दिया था तो ये पक्का बोला ही होगा. Go, yeah, read for yourself first. Read some
So where do you
commentaries.
think? So I am pretty sure there are many like me and the young people of the current generation would be curious but don't know how to sort of go about it. What do you think should be the starting point for anybody who wants to explore Sanatan?
Find out time. Take out time. Take out time to find your own roots. It may be I may be speaking on your podcast, I may be making reels, but my speaking is only to inspire you to do your own searching, do your own research, study. You know, we take out time for lot of people are teaching aajkal ghumna chahiye. You find out time to go with your friends, to watch movies. I'm not denying it. Go. It's your one life. Enjoy every aspect of life. You should do it. But do not do it at the cost of your own identity and roots. Take out some time. Do some research. Read those books which are less promoted, which are not written by the very modernists. A lot of people don't even know there's a book I gonna like refer. It has been published by Geeta Press. It's called as Ram Rajya or Marxwad. It is written by Karpatre Ji Maharaj. Karpatre Ji Maharaj is one revolutionary saint in India who's the only one who stood against Nehru when he was selectively bringing the Hindu Code Bill.
अच्छा
कि भाई हिंदूज तो मॉडर्न होने के लिए रेडी हैं, मुसलमानों को इनका वो करने दो, पर्सनल लॉ चलाने दो, ये शरिया में रहेंगे. एंड ही सेड कि विवाह विच्छेद नहीं था, हमारे में डिवोर्स नहीं था. टुडे आज ठीक है मिस्टर मोदी ने आकर के ट्रिपल तलाक को नलिफाई कर दिया है. इट्स गुड लाइक यू नो, बट तब हम लोग अपनी चीजों के लिए लड़ रहे थे. और करपात्रे महाराज जी का यंग पीपल ऑफ टुडे, दे मस्ट रीड दिस बुक. Marxwad or Ram Rajya.
You give me an entire list, I'll put it in the description.
Yeah, and you know, you would know that what was your original heritage, what is your original cultural identity, and what you have been taught. And with logic and with reference, you will figure out and you will learn that you are not going to believe just because somebody is sitting on a camera or you know, and somebody who's given a position of authority is speaking. तो ये तो पक्का historian है, सही बोल रहा होगा. Okay, I've heard it. I'll verify
it.
So if I want to guide, listen. Don't only be based on what people are speaking. Go and verify for yourself.
And how does it align with your own personal values?
Yes, and you know you can make your own value system once you are informed.
Yeah.
Not on vague ideas spoken by somebody else.
Yeah, true.
That's what I believe. That's where anybody should start. That's from where I started.
I think that's a lot to take in for today, a lot to process and think about. And I'll add the list of books which Jaya has recommended. And in the meantime, stay blunt, stay honest, stay brutal. Bye-bye.